Waymo is already providing 250,000 rides per week. They're operating in 4 cities with 2 more coming within the next couple of months. And they have already announced what they call road trips to Atlanta, DC, San Diego, Las Vegas, New Orleans, Nashville, Dallas, Boston. And now just today, they announced San Antonio, Orlando, and Houston. This is a company that is scaling extremely quickly. They have a playbook that is repeatable. Their costs are coming down for their hardware. That's really the key to make this an economical operation. And we know that their safety record is phenomenal. All of this is happening as Tesla continues to talk about getting robo-taxis on the road sometime in June, but we don't know exactly what that's going to look like. Are they going to have safety drivers in the vehicle? I think that's most likely going to be the case. Are they going to be operating in a relatively small area? And what does that safety record look like? We have no idea what the actual disengagements of Tesla vehicles will be on public roads, but that will need to be reported if there are incidents. So the leader in the clubhouse right now in autonomous driving is Waymo. I want to go through exactly what these expansion plans look like, what these next 3 cities are, and why I think this is phenomenal optionality for Alphabet. My name is Travis Hoium. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And thanks to this video sponsor, The Motley Fool. If you go to fool.com/ASYM, they'll give you their top 10 stocks to buy right now. So I mentioned that they just announced road trips to San Antonio, Orlando, and Houston. That's really where they start things, is with what they call road trips. Well, let's go through exactly what that means. This is from a blog post in 2023. So about a year and a half ago, they basically laid out exactly what they were going to do in their expansion plans. First thing we're going to do is we're going to travel to a new city with a small fleet of vehicles equipped with the Waymo driver, and sometimes they'll have return visits. These testing fleets are limited and closed to the public. Initially, human specialists drive the vehicles manually. This is how they map the system. So they drive it manually to provide data and context to the Waymo driver. So they do that in what they call a road trip. They're doing this in Tokyo as well. The next step is to drive. Once the Waymo driver understands the lay of the land, the vehicle can begin driving autonomously. During these trips, human specialists provide feedback to our engineering teams on the driving experience, flag unique nuances, and might come with operating in new areas. Simultaneously, the engineering team can evaluate the Waymo driver's performance. And then they're going to apply. They're going to apply what they learned. Teams use new learnings and insights gathered during this testing time to refine the Waymo driver's capabilities. And that's why they've done a bunch of cities that are very dry and hot. They've gone to Buffalo for snowy conditions. Obviously, they talk here about Miami in wet and rainy conditions. But the real key from a scalability standpoint is what they're doing is they're taking more and more information. They're iterating more and more quickly. It took them years to just get out of the San Francisco Bay Area. Then they moved to Phoenix. Began expanding in Phoenix. But again, we're talking about years from starting operations in Phoenix to where we are today. Then they moved to Los Angeles and Austin, Texas. The next step is what you can see here. Atlanta is going to be coming later this year. I think that's actually starting operations now, and Miami as well. But I mentioned about a dozen other cities that are going to be on that road trip map. Some of these cities, like Atlanta, the first road trip to Atlanta was just a little over a year ago. So it's going to be a little over a year between doing that first road trip and actually starting operations. Could we see by the end of 2025, maybe early 2026, Waymo's operating in a dozen cities or more in the US, and then add in Tokyo in Japan? I think that could be the case. And the real question in autonomous driving is what's going to be the right strategy. Waymo has taken a strategy of we want to get the technology right, we want to get the hardware right, and then we're going to worry about lowering those costs later. Initial estimates a couple years ago was that their Waymo 1 vehicles cost about $250,000 to build. Right now, those estimates somewhere between $100,000 and $150,000. That's not sustainable today. But they announced early this month they are scaling their manufacturing fleet. This is a picture of where they're going to be integrating thousands of Jaguar I-Pace equipped fully autonomous vehicles at a new 239,000 square foot facility in Mesa, Arizona. So that's going to allow them to build over 2,000 more fully autonomous vehicles with that I-Pace vehicle. But it's going to be flexible, so they're going to be able to incorporate the Zeekr RT, which is the Waymo driver 6th generation vehicle. That's basically a custom-made vehicle for Waymo. Can allow them to scale to much more than a couple thousand vehicles per year. Waymo also announced in October a multi-year strategic partnership with Hyundai. So that's using the Ioniq 5 SUV Basically, they're just going to add their sensors at the end of the production line to that Ioniq 5. So there's multiple different platforms that they're going to be able to build through this Arizona facility. That's going to allow them to scale their operations. Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. But the first step that you're going to see is these road trips that they keep taking to these cities. That's where they're going to validate their technology is going to be able to be transferable from San Francisco to Phoenix, Arizona, to LA, to Atlanta, and now to all these other cities that I have mentioned here. I think this is going to take Waymo from doing 250,000 rides per week, which is what they're doing today. And these are paid rides. Some of them are even on the Uber platform, to sometime at the end of next year, we're going to be seeing over 1 million rides per week. That suddenly becomes a pretty sizable business, even for a company like Alphabet. So the autonomous vehicle future is pushing forward. Waymo is absolutely leading the way. The question is going to be, what sort of competitors are going to be out there? We know that Mobileye is working with Volkswagen. They're testing vehicles in Austin right now. We know that they are an operator in Austin. They also have talked about bringing thousands of vehicles to the Los Angeles area. So that's going to be launching May Mobility, working with Lyft. So a lot of companies come into the space. The one company talked about earlier is Tesla. We just simply don't know when their camera-only systems are going to be operating at a safety level that's going to be high enough to match a company like Waymo. So the question for Tesla, the question for Waymo is going to be, is Waymo able to lower their costs more quickly than Tesla can improve their technology? That is the fundamental question. I think at the end of the day, you have to have more sensors. You want to have more than just vision. We've seen with some of the accidents that we've seen just over the past few months that things like glare and fog are real problems for them. That's where sensors like radar and LiDAR answer those questions. So if we're going to have fully autonomous vehicles on the road, they don't just need to be as safe as a human driver. They actually need to be safer. I think that's going to really be the bar that customers and riders are going to demand. I think Waymo is already there. They're proving out that they can scale that business, and they're going to be doing it potentially in a dozen cities or more over the next year. Announced just 3 of those today as I'm recording. So phenomenal scaling from Waymo as an Alphabet investor. This is exactly what I want to see from the company. Eventually, I think Waymo is going to be its own publicly traded company, but that's probably a little ways out. But let me know what you think about the progress of Waymo and autonomous vehicle companies today. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.